Mabuhay sa inyo lahat! So as you know, there's a lot of Koreans living in the Philippines, and one of them is Jessica Lee, one of the most famous Korean YouTubers here in the Philippines. And today we're gonna hear her story. So guys, are you ready?
Was the happiest moment of your life?
When was
This
the
is the
happiest
question that I
moment
get
of your
asked
life?
for several times in my life.
Really?
To answer this question, I must go back to the day when I first visited the Philippines.
Do you guys also get that question? I've never got that question before. When was the happiest moment in your life? Okay, isip ko muna.
I was a playful, wild,
Wow, that's her when she was
adventurous
just
kid who came to the Philippines
young.
to learn English.
Okay.
Hey guys, it's Jessica
See,
here.
that's Jessica.
In celebration of the National Foundation Day in Korea last October 3,
Okay.
a Korean Cultural Center took a part in the Philippine Star newspaper to raise
Oh.
awareness about both countries, Korea and the
Yeah.
Philippines' friendship.
Okay.
Thankfully, I was able to take a part in this project by writing a few words about my experience of living and studying in the Philippines
Wow, nice.
for about 9 years. Yes, you guys heard it right. I was on the newspaper, the Filipino newspaper.
Yay!
So-
Nice! Alright, so she's been living here since she was 9 years old. Okay, and she was just recently featured in the newspaper. Korea and the Philippines really has a very long relationship. Actually, Philippines sent a lot of soldiers to fight in the Korean War and helped out South Korea. Now that's another story that we will cover in another video. So let's go back to Jessica.
You guys for making this happen for me and also the Korean Culture Center as well. Now I'd like to discuss more about why I really consider the Philippines as my
Wow,
second home.
second home.
It was the winter of 2009
Okay.
when I first flew to the Philippines. It was a very special trip for me as it was my first time going outside of Korea.
Wow, that's nice. There's something about going outside of the country for the first time, being in an airplane the very first time, It's special, especially when you are a kid. All right, so she came here in 2009. So what is this, like 12 years ago, 10, 12, 11, 12 years ago, something like that.
First time riding a plane. I was also excited to try the famous mangoes for the first time, as mangoes
Really?
were something that I only saw in pictures or on TV.
How come?
Bacolod, a small city
How come? They should have mangoes in the Korean supermarkets. I wonder how come she hasn't gotten it. Maybe she lives outside of Seoul or something. So she went to Bacolod.
with a peaceful and beautiful smile. This is where I first
Yes,
settled in
Bacolod.
the Philippines. Most of my childhood memories and the happiest moments of my life linger there. This is how my classroom in the
Wow,
English Academy looked
nice.
like. We called this room cubicles, where we had one-on-one class with teachers.
one-on-one, huh?
The idea of a teacher for me was someone who I had to look up to and obey to unconditionally.
Well, I guess that's like in most countries, we have to obey our teachers and we do look up to them because they are full of knowledge. And as kids, we see the teachers being this, maybe not a god, but somebody who really knows what's happening and somebody we look up to. So I think that's very normal. Although I do think that Filipino kids are closer to their teachers than in many other countries and cultures.
My English teachers in Bacolod. I remember that they treated me with full respect, compassion, and warmth, despite me being the foreign kid who never opened her mouth because I did not know how to speak in English fluently by then. My teachers would try hard to communicate with me by bringing
Okay.
up subjects or topics that I would be interested in, which
Nice.
was food.
Oh.
They would get me different Filipino snacks and
Right.
candies like Milo and Max.
Milo and Max. All right. Hey, well, that's always a good idea, when you are together with foreigners or people who are new in your country, sit down, eat, have food with them, have dinner with them, give them snacks, and it's a way of bonding. And I think that's very common. I mean, I remember when I was a kid and we went to Italy a lot, we would always be bonding over food with those people we knew in Italy. And it's a very, very nice way to do it, I think.
Banana Q, buko
Banana
juice,
Q,
even
buko juice.
pancit canton.
Pancit
and
canton,
more.
huh?
Some
Wow.
teachers would even pack some food from their home just to share it with
Really?
me. By this time though, I didn't even realize that what I tried were Filipino food. Food was just
Yeah.
food and I enjoyed everything because it was just so delicious. I also enjoyed being able to swim in the sun every single day because me and my brother loved swimming. We even had a swimming coach who taught us how to swim. And yes, because of that, I was always suffering from sunburn.
Oh, my goodness, because she's out so much in the sun swimming, she got sunburned all over her face. Actually, that happened to me. It's not funny. It really hurts, actually. I got sunburned in especially this area here because I was down at the white sand last year, as you guys remember, and that really hurt, I have to say. Oh, kawawa naman. She's sunburned in the entire face.
Food and playing, I got really close to my teachers to a point that we would hang out outside of the English Academy.
Oh, really?
One time, my mom and my teachers prepared a surprise birthday party for me where I had an amazing time.
Nice.
It was not simply about making a formal relationship with my teachers as a teacher and a student. It was about forming an intimate bond with them as human beings.
Nice.
There were teachers who my family was specifically close to,
Of course.
like nuns and unis.
Okay.
They are basically my ates. They would sometimes invite us to their houses for parties and get-togethers.
I mean, just look at how many people there are. I mean, this is the thing in the Philippines, once you get together, you bond with the Filipinos. There's always a lot of people. Always at gatherings like this, at birthdays, lots and lots of people. Unlike in some other countries, like I definitely know, like in Korea or in Denmark, we're not that many, and the families are not that big. So when we have get-togethers, it's not that many people. So I could imagine for her, this was a big difference, a big change, no? At least they made her feel welcome here. And that, for sure, is something she must have appreciated a lot.
Top of the world when I would get invited to Nanda's house on the weekends. Her family was not the most prosperous, but rich in spirit and full of the joys of the spring. They always welcomed me with open hearts and offered me the best things to give. Delicious food, a warm bed, and most importantly, their precious time. I experienced my very first Filipino parties at her house, like on Christmas or New Year's Eve. This was the time when I realized for the first time in my life why people party. Bonding, sharing good food, dancing, singing karaoke, playing games, and simply having fun together with her family and neighbors taught me what it means to feel pure happiness.
Interacting with my Filipino teachers there in the most genuine way, I just saw myself fitting in the environment in the most natural way. They, my teachers, are the ones who fed my spirits as a child. They are the ones who just never really failed to make me happy. As time passed by, my family decided to move to the Philippines permanently in the year of 2011. Before me and my brother's school year started, our family spent a lot of time with this Filipino family we met through our swimming coach. They were from Silay, and they helped my mom a lot with all the paperwork to settle in the Philippines. Me and my brother joined our coach's swimming team representing the city of Silay. With the family of the members of the swimming team, I made lots of unforgettable
Silay, huh? That's not so far from Bacolod as far as I remember, no? So they must be Ilonggo and Ilongga, diba? Yes. And I love that they're all out swimming. I wonder, in the Philippines, diba, you are not having swimming lessons during normal school, right? Unlike in Denmark, I remember when we reached the 5th grade, we would have swimming classes twice a week in a big public swimming center, no? But as far as I understand here, most people don't have that, so there's kind of a private thing to learn to swim, which is kind of sad because this really should be compulsory to learn, especially with so many islands as we have here in the Philippines. I like how she's so genuine, this Jessica. She loves everything about this. She loves everything about being in the Philippines. She loves how close the people are and the friendship of those people that she have met here.
Going to different places, sharing each other's hobbies, and more. We bonded as if we were a real family. This is also a time when I naturally learned about the major characteristics of Filipino culture. Well, not only learned, but actually practiced it. I was already a part of the Philippine society. society.
Okay.
I will never forget my first day of my school in LaSalle College.
All right.
Oh, the uniform. I really hated how it looked like, but I got used to it as time passed by.
Okay. Well, it's nice to see how kids here in Asia all wear uniforms at school, whether it's in Korea, Japan, Hong Kong, or here in the Philippines, Thailand, diba? They all have uniforms and schools have different kind of uniforms. Now in Denmark, we do not use uniform. We just come in our ordinary clothes, whatever we are wearing, and that's it. Which is kind of weird actually when you think about it.
I had a hard time at my school because my English wasn't great.
Ah, okay.
But as I became good friends with my classmates, the barrier of language wasn't a problem anymore. At some point, my friends would just talk to me in Ilonggo
Oh, really?
because I was able to understand it.
Yeah.
Also,
Okay.
I was a part of a wide social circle in my school because thanks to my Silai swimming team,
All right.
I got to become a swimming varsity of my school.
Wow,
I made
nice.
friends with swimmers from other schools through this opportunity, and most importantly, I met this person. He was my new swimming coach in LaSalle, Coach Guangku, who would always make funny jokes to me to make me feel comfortable, as I was quite scared of him at first. As I got close to him, I remember I would always compare my height with him, waiting for
Really?
the day I would get taller than him. And I don't want to sugarcoat all my words and say that everything about the Philippines was about the joys of the spring. Just like every other student, I had my ups and downs
Of
in my
course.
school life. I had crushes, MUs, if you know what that is, haters.
Really?
And one time I even got bullied.
Yeah?
I can go on and
Well-
on about all the elementary days drama, but I'll stop here because if then this video will last for more than an hour. After my 6th
Okay.
grade graduation in 2013,
2013.
my family went back to Korea during our summer vacation.
Okay.
And this is the time when I unexpectedly began my K-pop trainee journey.
talaga?
The rest of my family went back to the Philippines
Okay.
in June of the same year, while I stayed in
Stayed.
Korea with my dad. To learn more about my
Okay.
K-pop journey, please refer to this
Okay,
video
guys.
popping up over
Don't
here.
forget that.
I went back
Watch
to
the
Philippines
videos on her
in
channel.
2015, but
So,
not in
she came
Bacolod
back
anymore.
2015.
Our family moved to the Manila area. Manila was a whole new world compared to Bacolod.
Yeah.
They spoke in Tagalog, which had a stronger tone compared to a softer
Yes.
Ilonggo. When I first went to Makati, I could not believe how different it was from
Really?
Bacolod again. The time when I went to an international school by grade 9, I suddenly started to think about the social environment of the Philippines,
Yeah.
which was the enormous gap between the rich and the
Yes,
poor.
gap.
I look at my right, I see shabby towns and children begging me for money in the streets. I look at my left, I see a fancy village with house gates as tall as the palm trees. I got confused. Also, being in this kind of environment made me ask fundamental questions about life. This was the time when I got interested about the Filipino society and started to study its history and culture more deeply.
Oh, that's
In
good.
2018, I started my YouTube channel.
Wow, so that's a
after
YouTube channel now.
completely quitting my K-pop
Don't
journey
forget to
in
subscribe
Korea.
to her.
At the same time, I also got into the modeling industry in the Philippines. If you are curious on how I got my modeling journey started in the Philippines, please refer to this video over here. As I got into the modeling industry and I also got to start my own YouTube channel, I was able to get several work opportunities where I learned not only even more deeply about the Filipino society and the culture, but also about the life being at work in a professional manner. The beginning of my work life in the Philippines allowed me to immerse myself into the Filipino society
Right.
even more.
Right.
And at the same time, I also noticed myself getting more attached to the country
Okay.
because of how interesting the country was. You know, in terms of its history, its
Right.
culture, the Filipino personality, and all that. It was, I would say, one of the most unique countries that I know of.
Nice. So actually, I think this is very common. No? Once you live in another country, you immerse yourself into it, the experience changes. I bet it's the same for so many Filipinos who live abroad, live in other countries. Once they live there permanently, they will learn about the country. They will immerse themselves into the country's history, their culture, and become part of it. And it's a completely different experience. I know that because I've been living in so many different countries throughout my life. And being a tourist is not the same as living in a country. If you're a tourist, everything is just amazing, you know? Everything is great. You could go to the beach, you can go to restaurants, whatever. But once you live in a country, everything changes. Now, you need to learn about the culture, the history, you need to learn about the society, and you need to become part of it. And this definitely makes you see every single country that you live in a completely different light. And I think this is great it happened to her, and she is actually appreciating the Philippines much more now that she actually understands the country. Okay, let's go on.
My new home in the Philippines was indeed a memorable one.
That's good.
I was welcomed by another great community of people,
Okay.
experienced the ups and downs of my life again, but this
High
time
school.
with such thing as consciousness, as I was no longer the foreign kid who
Right.
knew nothing about the Philippines.
Right.
One of the most memorable moments of my high school days is when I organized this mural project at a local village in the Philippines.
Okay.
You can check out the series if you like, and I recommend you to because it's my favorite content in my channel. By March of 2020,
So guys, definitely you should check out her channel, her YouTube channel. There's a lot of nice videos there. You want to see more about the murals or anything else about Jessica, I suggest you look at her channel. I'll put a link in the description below, okay? So we are at 2020 now. So that's just last year, huh?
graduated
Wow,
my
she's
high
graduating.
school in the Philippines. At some point of my life in the Philippines, and also whenever I visited in Korea, I noticed myself considering the Philippines as my second home. By home, I mean a
Wow.
safe place that brings me comfort and a sense of belonging,
Okay.
a place of growth where I can learn to become a better version of
That's
myself,
great.
and perhaps where I could always return to my truest self.
Yes, nice.
Whether I want the Philippines to be my second home or not, it will undeniably remain as my second home.
Right.
And I also want it to be my home as well. Mostly
Nice.
because as how this video started, if someone comes to me and asks, when was the happiest moment of your life? I am immediately going to think of my time in the Philippines.
Okay, that's great.
Right? So this was a pretty much very summarized story of a young Korean girl who's been living in the Philippines for around half her life.
Right.
I would like to thank you guys again for your love and support always. Thank you so much for watching this video, and I'll see you guys in my next one.
Bye-bye. Ayan guys, what do you think about Jessica Lee? I think it's amazing the way she has immersed herself into the culture of the Filipinos and into the Filipino society. Not everybody does that. Some foreigners, they come here, they live life completely separated from the Filipino society, but others, they come here and they completely become a part of the Filipino society, which is absolutely great. It's amazing, and definitely one thing you got to do if you come here to live is to learn the language. It will make everything so much easier, and you will actually be able to experience the real Philippines and not just the Philippines of a tourist. So guys, I'll see you next time in the next video. Don't forget, as always, if you like the video, give it a thumbs up, and don't forget to subscribe, and the most important thing is to click that bell button so you will be notified whenever I have new videos for you guys. Alright, bye-bye. Thank you so much for watching, and don't forget to click that subscribe button and of course the bell button so you'll be notified when we have new videos for you.